this works. Okay. You look very tan.
Oh,
Did you
wow.
tan
That's good.
yesterday?
No, I did not. Welcome, welcome
Welcome back, folks. We're
to the
here.
Venus Report, reporting live from Earth.
From Earth. Here we are
Um,
at Miss Earthus.
that's me. Um, so what's going on? How are you?
I'm good. I am feeling energized. I'm feeling like somebody just injected like electrolytes and vitamin C and beautiful, glorious energy into me. I feel like and yeah, I want to say
Mm,
it's the Jupiter conjoining the sun, but yeah, it just feels bright. It feels light, and the weather's warm, and it's like everything's
mm,
blooming, and I'm just loving this energy. Plus, Venus is in Gemini now, and it's like it's coming back home to my natal placement, and it just feels like natural. I've got a lot going on with Essence right now. I am going to my first ever market tomorrow, and I'm setting up a photo booth for vendors and attendees to just like take headshots, and I have some really cool spring props, and I'm just really excited. I've never done like a vendor kind of thing before, so I'm
mm.
excited for that.
That's really cool. Are
Yeah.
you going to
How about
take
you?
photos of people? Like for
Yeah.
nice.
So it'll be like, and it was kind of an idea. So I'm glad that like the person that I was talking to, shout out to Katie, she owns Soy Much Brighter, and she also runs the vegan market that happens every year in Somerville and Salem, Mass. But I was like doing a shoot with her, and I was like, hey, I have this weird idea. Like, what if I just set up a backdrop at like an event? Because I was talking about a different event to her, and I was like, do you think if you were at an event, like you would want like a headshot? She was like, absolutely. She was like, I'm running the vegan market in like 2 weeks. Do you want to go out and do that? I was like, yeah.
Oh my gosh,
So
that's perfect.
yeah, and so
Mm,
like my idea was just to have it for like vendors if they get a moment and they want a new headshot, and then
mhm.
also for people who are just at the event and want like a really cool, like I'm gonna set up all my lighting and have a backdrop and also have like really cool spring like florals in the background. So
Yes.
it's just like a pretty,
Ooh.
it's either a headshot where you could just have it be super plain. I'll take the vases out so it's like no flowers,
Hmm.
or you can have it be fun. And like I'm also getting a girl who's going to the event to make like flower bouquets and flower crowns for the event, so people can put on like flower crowns and just be like, I just,
Oh my
I
gosh,
thought it was
that
just a
sounds
cool idea.
amazing. Oh, that
Yeah,
reminds me of like it that's like Empress energy and like taking
yeah.
photos of people like almost like on a throne with flowers surrounding them. I'm
Oh my
picturing like
god.
beautiful marketing material and just like
Yeah,
really
and
nice.
it's just very. I'm feeling the very Venus and Gemini, that like young spring energy, and like Venus wants to see
Mm,
the beauty in it. Yeah,
mm,
yeah.
that's so
So
cool.
I'm
So
excited for that.
that's this weekend.
That's tomorrow. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
cool.
gonna be a day. Yeah.
Saturday the 15th. Yeah, so let's shout out. If you want to go to the market, go see Liz. Essence presents her business. Take a photo in the beautiful backdrop if you're local in
Yes.
Salem, Mass.
Yes. Salem, Mass. And Kate just ended her 8 week somatic course. I
Mm,
feel like I'm not saying the
mhm,
full title,
mm.
but that's
It
an
was called,
accomplishment.
yeah, this was my first ever like series that I've led in person and online. So it was called Somatic Regulation, and we dive into the science and nuance of the nervous system and practices to regulate yourself in your own way. So that was really beautiful. And I'm launching a little self promotion. I'm launching another series called The Somatic Spirit, and that starts May 3rd.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it's going to
How is
be
that different?
Wednesday evenings, 5 o'clock, and this will be different. We're going to focus on three different things. So clinical somatic exercises, which I'm currently studying and learning for pain management and pain relief. Really, really
Ooh.
physical practice. It's unlike yin yoga and it's not really like yoga. It's very, very different. Um, and I find it to be incredibly regulating and healing. So we're going to focus on those.
Wow.
Yeah. And we're going to do group somatic creative exercises, which involves partner work and
Mm.
mirror work and movement and improv and stuff like that. Like really fun activities that can like let our creative juices flow with a group, with a partner. Um,
Mm.
and then we'll be doing Kriya and mantra meditation, and I'll be leading harmonium songs, and we'll tune into mantras together and play music.
Kate's Kate's in a band.
Yes,
And
and I'm also
so
in a band. So yeah, all
so
this
she's
stuff.
not she yeah, you're
Mm,
just combining it all and it's beautiful. And I
mhm.
was lucky enough to attend one, maybe it was the first class for
Yeah,
this last somatic 8 week thing, and it was just like the most beautiful experience. And I feel like so many people in the class were so in touch with what Kate was saying and teaching, but it was so all also like a learning experience for
mm,
people. Like you are the
yeah.
one who I feel like has this information that is not really in touch for many people. It's kind of like I feel like it's kind of new in terms of
It's
that
interesting.
industry.
It's like it's new, but it's also ancient. It's not like
Mhm.
people have been studying the nervous system and people have been working with the body for ages.
Right.
But the way in which it's being taught now through somatic experiencing with Peter Levine and through somatic institute with Richard Strozzi Heckler, these are people that I like look up to in the
Mhm.
somatic world, and even Bessel van der Kolk. Like the way it's being understood is a little bit more grounded in like the meeting of science and spirituality and the meeting of the two. Because if like let's face it, we all like I not we all, but like for me, particularly me and the people I teach, like I really like to understand the science behind things and how it relates to the spiritual divine nature of the things as well. So like when those
Yeah.
two things come together, that's where it really comes alive for me and for the people I teach. So I'm not for everybody, but the way that in which I deliver it has been the way I have learned more clearly about the nervous system and the body, the mind body connection.
Yeah.
It just feels incredibly clear and concise and also mystical and at the
Mm.
same time. So that's yeah, that's a little bit about
I
that.
really love that.
Also, yeah, so I'm in a band and we have local monthly kirtan shows at Maha Yogashala in Dover, New Hampshire. And super exciting. If you're local, come visit and see a show. It's not like a normal concert where you just like receive and you just watch. You actually sing with us. So it's a call
Mhm.
and response practice. And this is like the first time I'm actually being like um, open about me loving kirtan because it's been
Yeah.
something I've like loved for a long time, and I also have felt like embarrassed about it because we sing to the divine and the names of God in the Hindi and yogic lineages.
Yeah.
So it's really like a chanting practice, and it's a practice where you can connect to your own creative voice. And for me, that
Mhm.
has been like so transformational, and I find a lot of joy in it. Uh, it's like a meditation, but it's more fun. That's what
Mhm.
Maharaj, our harmonium and band leader, he says it's like a meditation, but it's fun and ecstatic.
Yeah. The community experience of that when I went to one of the things that I think may have been right before you guys like officially were in a band.
Hmm.
It was like it's like the frequency of everybody's voice at the same level is like a very interesting experience. I feel like it fills the room with like just this unifying energy, and it's like just kind of a like that's what I got out of it. I was like, wow, this is
Yeah.
just like a very cool way to connect with the oneness energy that is always around us.
Yeah, like,
But
and
we
because you,
might, yeah.
like, because you went to the, like, one of those kirtan circles where before the studio even came about in Dover, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Good
love to hear
vibes.
your experience about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was just, it was, yeah, it was like, I've never done something that was in a community with like singing and like doing that. I guess it would be called chanting, but when
Yeah.
I guess the most thing I remember is when we were all doing like the same frequency, and it just felt like
Mm.
this, like, it felt almost like the ground was like floating, and but our voices were like carrying us like all on this level.
Mm.
Like if I had to explain it in like a physical way of how it felt, like that's how it felt.
Mm. I love that. And
So,
I also have just been like thinking about how accessible that this can be for people and like how it might seem very unapproachable. And I
mhm.
also am curious about people's like, I don't know, like what people have, do people know what kirtan is and how accessible does it feel? Because I want to make it feel accessible for like everyone that's interested,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
feel like it could like for like your average folk like me, I feel like the word kirtan, like if I had to guess, it would just be like, oh, it's probably like a certain type of thing within a religion. But it's like
Mm.
I don't know if that's really like that even itself as I said that, that even seems like maybe inaccessible for some people. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe like maybe you could do, I don't know, just something like, would you ever do like a live recording of
Yeah,
one of these?
for sure. Yeah, we definitely are
Because I
doing
feel like
that.
that would be cool.
Yeah, so people can see it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so interesting. But yes, so those selfless
So
promotion for both of us. Um,
I wanted to ask you as you were explaining things,
yeah. Hmm.
where is Gemini in your chart?
Gemini is in my sixth house.
Okay.
Yeah, my
Interesting.
south node is there
Because,
too.
right,
Hmm.
Gemini, sixth house.
Hmm.
I feel like you, in your work, you're very attracted to the Gemini aspect of partnership in
Mm.
in kind of like your work. Like that whole like, okay, we're gonna get with a partner. And I feel like you specifically like when it's just like one on one with
Yeah,
people, because then it allows like for like a space to open with just
yeah.
one person, not feeling, because I sometimes I feel like in a group setting, especially with what you teach, if it's like three people or even four people, it's a group,
Hmm.
you know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yep.
But I feel like the partner thing is like something you find a
Mm.
lot of like effectiveness in with your work.
Yes. Okay. So three is a crowd for sure, and three is a group.
Mm-hmm.
But two, the dyad were the polarity and the Gemini, the twins. Like that has been so deeply transformational for me. And the reason I teach dyads is because I've had incredible experiences with like one-on-one sharing in cacao ceremony and in ceremony with other women and men, where like you
Mm-hmm.
literally practice. You practice like expressing like from your heart, and in normal
Mm-hmm.
relationships day to day like that doesn't really happen, right? So like when you're in a space where
Mm-hmm.
you can actually connect to your heart and it's like safe enough to be like, okay, I have this 2 minutes to actually just share exactly what's on my mind, and then you are like just listening because there's a space held and it's a prompt and all this stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, and I just
I
think that that's so interesting that it's also where your south node lies, because
yeah.
it's almost like I'm like picturing like a boomerang or like a slingshot like across the way where your north node is. So like
Yeah.
partner work just like immediately affects your north
Mm,
node placement.
wow,
Or maybe
that's
it
so
just comes
interesting.
so natural to you, because for me, like sometimes partner things, I'm just like, oh my God, like this is a little intimidating. But I know you've
Hmm.
obviously like worked your way up to a point where you're like, this just was so like life change, like transformational for you in the past. So therefore you
Yeah.
like have done it so many times that it's probably like nothing at that point. But yeah,
And
I
the
just
thing
find that
is,
interesting.
that the thing is the reason why partner work is so tra transformational for me and has been is because I was scared shitless of it before, and it was really
Mm.
uncomfortable for me for a long time. and I like
Yeah.
resisted it. And then I finally like came to this point where like I was like, you know what? I'm gonna actually maybe open up a little bit more and like just show up for this in a new way. And
Yeah.
then something started to shift. And like my whole
Mm.
relationship dynamics shifted. Like the way I am in relationship is like totally different. And it's interesting too because we were going to talk about aspects today, a little bit about certain
Mm.
aspects, mostly
Yes.
conjunctions. But the thing I want to mention first is when you're talking about relationships, you are almost always talking about the aspect of an opposition. Because when
Mm-hmm.
you are in a relationship with another person, you're sitting across from each other and you're talking
Mm-hmm.
and you're bouncing back
Yeah.
and forth. And you can think of when you have an opposition in your chart, when two planets are exactly opposite one another on the dual axis, there's this opposition of like they're in a relationship where how we think about a
Yes.
traditional relationship is like
And they're
this
talking
they're
directly to each
talking
other, which,
directly, but they're far away and they're opposite. So like
but it sometimes could
mm,
come off as like too, yeah, a way of like interpreting an opposition in that way is like it could be just like too direct, or like
mm-hmm,
because when you think about it, face to face things are
mm-hmm.
very not confrontational, but that's like
Yeah, yeah, oh
kind of
yeah.
the word I'm
They
going
can
for.
be.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, so if you have like a Saturn, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, Saturn
Yeah.
Mars opposition,
Mm-hmm.
it's like could be really beneficial in moments, but also in other moments it might be a struggle of like restraint and motivation to do. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know
Oppositions
if
are
that makes sense.
interesting. It does. It does. But um so okay, we'll talk about oppositions later, but I wanted to talk about this week in particular. So there was just a
Mm.
Jupiter and Sun Cazimi, which doesn't happen often. And me and Liz were talking before this, like I definitely felt this, and this happened on the 11th, right? Tuesday?
Yeah, the 11th. And
Yeah.
you say Kazemi, for people who don't know, that means when a planet really just passes over another planet at the heart of it. So a Kazemi is when they're at the exact degree as each other. A
Isn't
conjunction
oh, okay.
means that a conjunction is 3 degrees within each other's range. So if the sun is at 12 degrees of Aries, I know it's not, but say it's at 12 degrees, and then Jupiter is at 9 degrees, that's still a
Mm-hmm.
conjunction. And then also on the other end, like 16, or wait, 15 degrees. So,
Yeah. I I thought that a cazimi was when a planet came into exact with the sun.
yeah, so, oh,
Not
yes.
just
So
any planet
Kazimi,
conjunct.
not just any
Cazimi,
planet,
yeah. So cazimi
but
means a planet coming together with the sun.
with the sun, but is it also saying that it's at the exact degree, or is it just saying that it's
I don't think so.
conjunct?
I don't think so. I think it's just
Oh,
a
okay.
conjunction to the
It's just
sun.
another word. Okay,
Yep.
that's good
So,
to know,
a,
guys.
yeah, a cazimi is when a planet is like entering the light of the sun or the heart of the
Of the
sun.
sun. And I think that maybe it has its own kind of definition because everything revolves around the sun. So when
Yeah.
we on Earth see Jupiter in the same spot as the sun, it's all when I guess to get into the conjunction thing, it's all about our perspective from Earth and
Mm,
how a planet is revolving around the sun, because it's
yeah.
the only thing that revolves around us is the moon. But when it comes to like the sun and say Jupiter, which by the way only conjoins the sun every 12 years,
Yeah.
it's kind of a big deal because it's from our perspective. It's like either obviously going at that, I don't know if this even matters, but going behind the sun, or like
It
being
does.
in a,
Or in front. Yeah, it
or
doesn't not
in front. Yeah.
hmm So
And it's like a
also,
rebirth moment.
yes, it's a very much a rebirth moment and like a new moon moment. And it's big because it doesn't happen often. And like
Mm-hmm.
if you think about just a little bit of like perspective, if you think about the ancients and like the ancient Greeks or like Mesopotamia or whatever, and they studied astrology by just looking at the sky. And astrology came of that, of them looking at the sky and saying, okay, Jupiter and the sun are like right next to each other. They're conjunct, right? From our perspective, they're right next to each other in the
Mm-hmm.
sky. And then from our perspective on Earth, let's see, Venus is over there, and that area of the sky, which usually has to do with blank, right, which is
Mm-hmm.
Aries or whatever. And then they made a map of the sky, and then when we talk about aspects, we're talking about like the conversation that the planets are having with each other. So whether or not
Mm-hmm.
Venus and the moon are together, or if they're opposites in the sky, or if they're square, which
Mm-hmm.
is a what's the angle of a square? 180
90
degrees?
degrees.
90 degree
90
angle.
degrees.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 180 would be
180 would be an
opposition.
opposition. Right, right, right. But yeah, so that's just a little bit of perspective on what aspects are. And
Yeah.
this past week, we had a Sun Jupiter Cazimi moment, which was like really big. And we can talk about what that felt like for us, and then maybe what that
Yeah.
like maybe could have felt like for people listening, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
why to work with it. Like, why do we even talk about this stuff?
Yeah.
Um, okay, great.
So
Yeah,
I
go
would
ahead.
say, like, so for me, this is all happening in Aries, right? So Aries, I think it was like 20 something degrees at this point. We're cutting close to the end of Aries. So yeah, it's at least in the 20-degree mark, which I sometimes like to note. I have I have an interest in deacons, and I don't know if anyone knows about that, but basically it's kind of like segmenting a month and or a season that is over the course of 30 days. And since all of our zodiac signs and constellations have 30 degrees in Placidus astrology that we study, that we kind of go by, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
that can be segmented into like 10, 10, 10. And I also love talking about like cardinal, fixed, and mutable. So all of it just kind of like blends in with each other. So I just sometimes like being like, okay, we're in the third decan, so we're in like the mutable now. We're like
Wait, what do you mean?
gonna
Can
be
you say? Can
changing.
you talk more about that? What that means?
Yeah, yeah. So like a decan is literally like if you hear the way that there's different ways of studying deacons, but the basically deacon in I think it's Greek means obviously like 10. So when you think about even in like the Gregorian calendar, we obviously have like 30 days in a month, but in astrology we also have like 30 degrees to work with in a
In a sign,
season. Yeah, so like like right, we're in Aries season. So
right?
Aries season started March 21st. So like
Mm-hmm.
from the 21st to the 20th of April, there's actually like
Oh, okay.
technically around 30 days. So
Mm-hmm.
when you think about it in that way, like this is how I like to break it down. And there's obviously different ways to study deacons, but I kind of like to relate it back to the natural like way that seasons work, which is like cardinal, fixed, and mutable. So like we're at the beginning. If we're at the beginning of Aries season, it's like the 21st of
It's
March
like cardinal,
to April
cardinal.
1st. So we're like in the cardinal. We're like, it's like all of a sudden initiative, things coming up, motivation. Then we're in the fixed, and now we're in the ending of Aries. So we're in like the third decan, which I would consider mutable, and
Mm.
it's like the energy is just kind of changing. You can feel it
Shifting.
like, and I also feel like Venus. This might be a little. I'm like just going into my brain process, but like Venus, I believe switches over into the next sign in the fixed area, but we don't know. It's all right. Venus, I just find that funny because like you can already feel the energy. I feel like I can already feel the energy of like Venus and Gemini right now. Maybe it's because it was amplified by like Jupiter and Aries, but basically right now this is all happening in my sixth house, which is like my rituals, my habits, my like day to day, like the things
Work.
that yes, work, health, and I am feeling this like I I feel like my conversations over the past couple days have really revolved around like changing my routine for like better health. Like
Mm.
I started like I literally yesterday went on like my first ever run of the season, which is like kind of a big, I always like do that for the
Hmm.
spring and summer, and that's kind of just like a big deal because I'm like, hell yeah, like this is when I start, like, and now that I think about it, it always happens during this time of year. It's Aries. It's like I'm gonna start moving again. But
Yep.
yeah, so like this is really lighting up that area of my life, and I've felt just a major shift towards the changing of routines for the purpose of like health and like wellness and like
Mm.
my day to day of that.
Mm. And
How have you been feeling? And like where does this light up in your chart? I should know this.
um, so it's really interesting. So Aries rules my fourth house
Fourth
of
house. I
home,
knew that.
family, lineage, all that stuff, ancestry, and where
Mm-hmm.
I come from. And on the exact day of the eclipse, or no, on
You
the
mean the
exact day
conjunction?
of the conjunction, I was doing some like really powerful like work with clients and had like a really great Reiki session, and also had um, this moment where we got together with the band and we played for like a local chamber of commerce in the studio, and it was just like a moment of being seen in the 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 gift of music, I guess, in the expression of me playing music and singing, which is like accessing my voice is
Mm.
something that's always been like really like it's been like a process of like really wanting to
Mm-hmm.
sing, but like feeling shame around it, and then really wanting to sing and feeling
Mm.
shame and letting it go, but then coming back to it again and again. So like
Yeah.
also things are happening at home where like cleaning is happening and there's like new things. I'm getting rid of some stuff that I've been
Yeah.
holding on to for too long. And it feels like things are
Mm.
shifting on the home front. So like I'm really actually feeling this in my like lineage, like in like where like what wisdom has been passed down through me, and like how can
Mm-hmm.
I access it, you know, without grasping too hard at it, and like put it out there in the world for my work as like an opposition to my MC, because Aries is right on my IC, which is the ilium coli,
Mm.
which is the bottom of the sky. Also, just related to like your roots, like your fucking roots and how you nourish yourself, which for me
Mm-hmm.
has really been music and creativity and expression. And Aries is also
Mm.
like the body, and moving the body through creative expression is absolutely what nourishes me and then
Yeah.
points me towards that MC of like my career and my offerings in the world, that which are very
Yeah.
closely related to how I express
Mm-hmm.
creatively. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's what's
Wow.
been happening. It's like pretty wild, and I really loved the Jupiter Sun moment. It was like really
Me
positive. I
too.
felt like a sense of like triumph, and I saw a lot of other people
Yeah.
experience it too.
Yes. Yeah. And it like, I feel like it totally shifted just the environmental energy. And
Yeah.
I was just saying this before to you, but like, I feel like I haven't felt this since at least before 2020. Like
Oh,
this
yeah,
kind
I
of
haven't felt this
enlightening.
kind of. No, same.
It's kind of like I feel it. Yeah, and I don't know if, and also it's kind of good to say because you're talking about kind of like the things that this is hitting in an opposition, like as in the
Mm,
conversation that we're talking about.
yeah, yeah.
This, it's definitely not the same degree, but it's, I also have my North Node in the 12th house, and this is happening in my 6th house. So it
Yeah.
feels very like aligned with the, I don't want to say the legacy of kind of what I'm doing, but like kind of. I always
Yeah.
felt like health and like daily rituals and things like that were always like a part of the thing that I'm like meant to be doing
Moving
kind of
towards.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So this feels like a like almost like a lightning bolt in that area of my
Yeah,
life, and it's just kind of like,
yeah.
woo, like okay.
Yeah, and it's almost like I feel like it's preparing me for this like up level. Like that's what I wrote
Yeah.
in my newsletter. I was like, I feel like there it's preparing me to like embody this new level. And it's like, okay, here you go. Here. Take it and receive it. Um,
Yeah.
Something else that I thought of, I didn't tell you, was the exact day of the eclipse also. I was at the Shala all day, and I was like, I use it as kind of like a study space and
Mm-hmm.
a place to study and do work. And it's also like it's a home to me. It's like a spiritual
Mm-hmm.
home, which is my
Yeah.
fourth house. Um,
Yes.
and I randomly I got a call from my friend, and he was like, "Hey, there's a bunch of plants that we're receiving. So can you help me receive these trees because we're going to put them in the shala." And they were
Mm.
huge. They were like these huge ficus trees that were older than me. They were like they were planted in like
Wow.
1991, and we like took
That's
them
such
into
fourth
this big.
house.
I know it's the roots
Mm-hmm.
of the tree, and the tree
And
I
like the
almost say
long
is the
legacy.
MC.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually just realizing this. And so we like lifted up these really heavy plants, and like I had just gone to the gym and like worked out my muscles. So I was like using my muscles again, and I was like, okay, this is very Aries. Like using
Mm-hmm.
my body, my muscles to carry these big trees that have a lot of like history into this yoga
Mm-hmm.
studio and to give them a new home. And
Oh my
there's my
gosh.
my spiritual home is there too, and it's like, yeah,
Jupiter.
that
Jupiter was there just
symbolism.
being like, here's more.
Yeah.
Here's more
Here's more
of this.
nourishment. Yeah,
Yes.
it was
Here's
just like
more
a
roots.
very, very interesting moment.
Yeah.
Um,
That I love when obvious things play out because then it's just like for
it's
people in
like,
the back who don't who don't believe in astrology,
yeah,
it's
it's
like here
like,
you go.
come on, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you can't deny this shit. You really can't. Um,
So an interesting kind of just like I guess follow up with that is like the most obvious way that I kind of interpret this, like Sun conjunct Jupiter, Kazemi,
mhm.
Sun Kazemi with Jupiter, is like identity expansion.
Oof, yeah,
Like you are obvious. It's like there's just the plain back to basics definition of this is like expanding your identity. So what does that mean for you? It's like you are just expanding kind of like even like your study spaces. Like you've like been like okay, this is also like just an extension of my home in a way.
yeah,
And
exactly.
here I'm expanding kind of just like the space, like the design,
Wow,
your Libra MC, like your like just like and the way that you do
wow.
somatics is also very aesthetic driven.
Mhm.
Like yeah,
That's so
I
funny. Oh
just
my God, I can
I
see
just
it.
put that all
I can
together. But
see
yeah,
it. Like, and it's funny because I'm processing this as we're talking, and I hope people get
yeah,
something out of this because you can see where this lands for you. But like
mm-hmm.
what's so interesting is that I've created this space that I'm in right here is like not big, but I also have created like very like every corner has like a piece of art that inspires me. Your calendars there, all the astrology. I have like mantra. I have things I've drawn. I have a ukulele. I have a keyboard and like some books and then my biofeedback setup and my gong. I don't want to show it to everybody, but I have
Yeah,
all this stuff here in my altar that has supported my practice and my expansion into my career and like what I want to offer into the world that's also sustainable for me and brings me a lot of
yeah,
joy. And this space, my home, has expanded into another space that has come into my life and is a place that I adore and that I like spend a lot of
mm-hmm.
time. So I can like literally like my home has expanded, which Jupiter
Yeah,
gave me like a mirror and was like, here you go. This is what has
mm-hmm.
happened. So wherever if you're listening to this, look at your chart and see where Aries is. If you're in Aries
Mm-hmm.
first house, you definitely are feeling this. If you're in Aries
Yeah,
like 10th house, maybe you're experiencing like a new chapter in your career, like what it looks like to be in a new career or in your career in a new way. Like
yeah. I
it's
just feel
all
like
about
to
where it
be honest,
lands.
everybody I think everybody might have some sort of thing that they not feel it but maybe like sense it
Mm-hmm.
because when you think about it it's like Aries, Mars is like the sun is exalted in in Aries, so we're
Mm-hmm.
already experiencing like kind of a heightened sense of
Yep.
Aries. And then when
Yep.
you talk about like expanding the identity, it's
Mm-hmm.
like perfect that like the sun and Jupiter didn't have to conjoin in Aries. Like it just
Right.
happened that
It just
way.
happened. Yeah.
So like the fact that it's actually happening in Aries is like it's just like to me it's a classic beneficial like beneficial more fortunate of a conjunction. Obviously if you
Oh, yeah.
have like more difficult planets that are like even squaring this or opposing or even conjoining this, there could be like maybe some obstacles, but I think
Mm-hmm.
overall people are going to feel just like the lightheartedness slash like opportunity that this will
Yeah.
bring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like it's too
Oh,
powerful not to feel it.
it's way too powerful. It's like so good. And so I did want to mention too, we're also coming up against eclipse season. So next
Mm.
week, we've got an eclipse on the 19th. So that's Wednesday. And this is an eclipse in Aries. It's a solar eclipse, um, and it's on the North Node. And then just a little overview, and then we can talk about what that means. And then on May
Mm-hmm.
5th, we've got a South Node eclipse. That one will be a little bit difficult. And eclipse season is always like bumpy and like can feel chaotic. So I feel like this Jupiter Sun conjunction was like a moment of like, all right, here's your strength, gather it, gather your resources, and then we're going to move through eclipse season up until like May 16th. Then
Mm-hmm.
then actually Jupiter moves into Taurus, which will be amazing. And then we'll get
Mm.
like a little bit of like a like it'll be nice again. So we're coming up
Yeah.
against this like big wave of like, all right, we're gonna ride out this energy.
Mm.
Um, have you looked into the eclipses, or do you want me to just talk about what I
No.
think?
Yeah. I would like for you to talk about like I said, I think I feel them, but they're not like so familiar to me, so I would love to just
Yeah,
hear kind of like what this will be about.
yeah. So the one on the 19th is conjunct the North Node in Aries. So it's a North Node solar eclipse in Aries. That
Mm-hmm.
is pretty big, and it's right before Taurus season hits. So this will be like a moment, last moment of Aries season, where the North Node is like activated by this eclipse, where the North Node is like this point of hunger. And it's this point of like
Mm.
tenacity. And it's like when it's in your chart, wherever it is in your chart, there's this like unsatiability to the North Node. It's like where you always are seeking. And in your
Mm-hmm.
life, it might never be like satisfied, but there's this like hunger and seeking energy.
Mm.
So in Aries, it's like this eclipse is just a moment of like hungry activation for your self actualization, is what I would say. Is
Oh.
like, um, and it can just be turbulent. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
power surge in whatever point Aries is in your chart.
Mm-hmm.
And the Jupiter Sun conjunction kind of just activated it already, but now it's coming back. I don't know exactly what degree it's at, but it'll be like a moment of a power surge in Aries for wherever that is in
And
your chart.
so this next solar eclipse is solar eclipse
Eclipse.
is technically is technically it's it's like a new moon, but a new moon solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, solar eclipse.
Yes. So a new moon
So
solar eclipse.
so I think it's once a year that we have two new moons in the same sign, and I
Mm,
think this would be it. So it's
yeah.
Aries
Oh, right.
this year. Because I think
Yeah.
last year it was in August or something that like we had two new moons or something. I forget.
Yeah.
But
So
that's like
that's
an
cool.
uncommon thing. Yeah,
That
I like the
that
new moon energy for Aries. Like new moon Aries is
oh,
very like it's
it
like
is.
times 10 on the initiative energy.
Yeah.
Like
It's like Big Bang. Like
yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so I feel like the question is what is happening in Aries in your chart? Like for everybody, it's
Yeah.
like what's going on in for me, it's my home family lineage. For you, it's your work, rituals, and
Mhm.
health. For you,
Mhm.
for other people listening, you got to look where it is in your chart and like just pay attention. What's going on in that part of your life? Because there's stuff
Yeah.
happening. Um,
Yeah.
so there's that eclipse, and then we've got like Earth Day on Saturday the 22nd, and then May 5th. this one is a south node eclipse, the last one in Scorpio. So the
Oh,
eclipses are
yes.
moving into the Aries Libra axis. So we'll have a little insight into that, and it's a new beginning of
Mm-hmm.
of that axis of eclipse because eclipses happen in series. So this one
Right.
in May is the last of the eclipses in Scorpio, which we had
Mm-hmm. The
one
Scorpio
in,
Taurus.
yeah, we had one in Scorpio back in October, and there was also one back in May of 2022. So think about like what was happening, and there were difficult moments for sure, difficult
Mm-hmm.
moments. So this one
May
is like
2022.
this one for me. I feel a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
it's happening in Scorpio. It's a lunar eclipse, and it's asking, what are you
Mm-hmm.
letting go of in this part of your life? Like, what is finally releasing the last, like untying the knots, like the last little
Ooh.
knots in this part of your life,
Yeah.
and finally like letting it go, turning away from it. There might be moments of like grief, of like extreme emotional intensity, Scorpio,
Yeah.
right? Depths, grief, loss, like, and these themes will be a Scorpio lunar eclipse is like
Yeah.
on the south node is like not, it's not gentle, right? It's like intense.
And
South node is
yeah,
also intense. South node kicks up a lot of like old shit, like old patterns, past life shit.
like habits that you don't want anymore. Like that.
Yeah,
That's what I think of with South Node. Plus, in ancient astrology, Scorpio and Aries were ruled by Mars. So this
yeah,
energy that you might feel right now could be very like tense and just like a little, maybe even like a little abrasive. Not
yes.
abrasive, like
Yeah, like
abrupt,
sharp and abrasive, I
sharp,
think. Yeah.
and maybe just a little intense from you said the 19th to the May 5th.
So yeah, so May 5th is when the eclipse happens. So in and around May 5th. And then
Mm-hmm.
after that there'll be like a reverberation, but then
It'll be
May
into
16th
Taurus.
things will go
Yeah.
better. Yeah. But so
Okay.
I'm curious, where is Scorpio in your chart and what have these eclipses like, what are the themes for you? And
So
where's
I
Scorpio?
guess Scorpio's first house because I
Oh
am a
yeah,
Scorpio
you're
rising.
rising. Yeah.
So like when I think about May of last year,
Hmm.
I'm honestly like there I can't say, and here's the thing, I don't know, maybe I'm just like a little unaware around the eclipses, but I think I remember last year feeling just a little bit intensified. Like there was nothing crazy going on like in my personal life, I don't think. May 2022. Like yeah, I'm like thinking back because it was that plus the Taurus season. Like so it was like last, well yeah, so last May and then this past October is what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean October was definitely
It was when we were at the retreat.
definitely yeah. So
When we were
when
in
it comes to
Portugal.
the
Yeah.
October, like May of last year, not really. October of last year, that was like I literally like pretty much figuratively like jumped off a cliff. I was just like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't care. I was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, like I'm gonna quit my job. It's fine. I don't have anything else going, but it's cool. Like I was just a little bit reckless. Maybe that, but it was like a self. It was a self defining moment for me last
Yeah.
October.
Yeah.
I made a decision that I was like, I don't think this is really logical, but I don't really care. Like I that's like that was my vibe.
Yeah.
And I also
Yeah.
have Pluto in Scorpio in the first house at like 28 degrees.
The way you said it, like
so,
I also have Pluto.
so it was a bit like it was a bit much. It was a bit messy, but we
Yeah.
got through it. Yeah, so I
Ah.
guess yeah, that is how it hit me. I would say that was like a defining moment for me, like my identity. Like
Mm.
I basically I won't like go into detail, but I wasn't gonna take like shit anymore at that
Yeah.
point. I
I
was like
remember.
done taking the shit and I was like, yeah, I don't deserve this. It was more like me
Yeah.
redefining what I was like where my worth lied, like kind of like my
Mm.
value, and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. I like made that like structure like that decisive like severing decision of like the ancient astrology of like Mars ruling Scorpio. I felt that at that time.
Mm.
Plus Pluto's just there always. So for
Yeah.
me, I'm just like, yeah,
I
let's
remember
transform through this.
you were like, fuck that. You're like, this is my
Yeah.
boundary. And I'm like, fucking not backing down. And
Yeah.
it, you had to like call upon some like real resource of like this like fucking,
Yeah, it was like
yeah.
it was the Taurus thing too. It was like the Taurus the themes were there. I was like calling on like I was literally trusting in the like fall, like literally jumping off a cliff, but I was like
Mm,
hoping that like the Taurus resources were at the bottom of
mm.
my jump.
Yeah, you were like trusting that they were.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they
So,
were, right? Like it all worked
and for
out.
you,
What?
wait.
What?
So Capricorn, so you have an 11th house Scorpio sun.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
oh
my
my
son's in
God.
the 10th, but Scorpio rules my 11th.
I was going to say something. So, okay.
In
Well,
whole sign, it's
when you
different, but go ahead.
when you think oh, okay. When you think about it. So in whole sign you're an 11th house sun Scorpio,
Sun.
but in Placidus it tropical
I'm a 10th
you're
house sun. Yeah.
I tend to feel like your 10th house kind of shines more through that.
For sure.
But can I just
Because
say
I,
something?
yeah. Yeah.
So this eclipse happened in October of 2022. You were leading your first retreat, 11th house, but it was for your career, 10th house. And I don't know, I feel like that was like a step towards like the goal,
Mm.
the like legacy kind of.
Hmm.
And I feel like eclipses are connected to your legacy kind of.
They are. Yeah. They're like portals. So, like,
Yeah.
the eclipses that have been happening for me in my axis, which is 11th and 5th house,
Okay. Yeah.
Taurus, 5th house, 11th house, Scorpio, have
Mhm.
been like wildly creative. Like I've
Mhm.
been like I remember the first one. I don't know if it was the first one, but it was back in like April of like 2021 or something, where that was the
Mm.
first Scorpio Taurus eclipse, or another time. I don't remember exactly the month. But I was doing natal chart readings at my friend's studio, and I think you visited at some point, but we did photos there.
Yeah.
But like there was
Mhm.
that I had never done chart readings in person before, and that was the first time I ever did that. And then my business launched, and I was like, okay, I'm Sahaji Somatics, and I'm this is the
Wow.
thing. And that was on the day of the eclipse, and I was
Astrology is
sharing
so
cacao.
real.
It's just so fucking like, and I was like, all
It's
right,
so
this is a
accurate to
portal.
what
This is a portal moment. And
and
then
to be
like
honest,
years
oh my
later, like I'm leading a retreat in
god. Oh my
Portugal,
god.
and then like I also just see it as I'm very much letting go of like old groups I've been a part of, and like
Mhm.
that I love the people so much, but like I just don't need to spend as much energy and time on those groups as I thought I
Mhm.
did. And
Yeah.
now the focus is really like my creativity, and then Jupiter's going to come into that part of my chart and be like, okay, here you go. Like it's making a way like for that. So I
Yeah.
just see it so clearly. And I think as I got older, I understood eclipses better.
Yeah. And
You know?
I'm also like seeing in my head you're like Capricorn rising.
Yeah.
You're I feel like you are a perfect fusion of a 10th house, 11th house sun person because it is like totally like it's totally about career but it's also totally about community. It's
Mm,
just like it's like the fusion of the both. And
hmm.
it's like yeah, I just see that so much. And I feel like because you're a Capricorn rising, that lights up your 10th house. It also
Hmm.
lights up your Saturn in Aquarius, which is 11th house. It's like
Yeah.
all 10th house, 11th house shit.
Yeah, it is. And second house for sure.
Mm.
So something else that also came to me is like when we'll talk about on our next episode, but May 16th, Jupiter enters Taurus. And then right after the eclipse, or right actually at the eclipse in Scorpio on May 5th, Mercury will be going retrograde in Taurus. So it'll be like
Mm.
cleaning out the house of Taurus, whatever Taurus is for you. Keep an eye on that because
Mm.
on May 16th, Mercury will have done some like shedding of whatever needs to be shed, and then Jupiter enters there, and it's all ready to give you these blessings, and like to
Mm-hmm.
receive this like expansion and whatever Taurus is for you. What is Taurus
Yeah.
in your chart again?
Seventh
What?
house.
Seventh house. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
relationships, contracts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
A very Venusian house
Yep.
for me. And where's Taurus in
Yeah.
yours?
Fifth.
Fifth house.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
fun.
Creativity, so fun. Yeah, I'm feeling that a lot.
Yeah.
Um, what else?
What
What else
else?
do we wanna?
Um, I feel like I said kind of a lot of what I wrote down.
Mhm.
Um, but basically, yeah, like so this is a moment where something is completing on some level. Also, I wrote down like look to Leo in your chart
Mm.
also because Leo is the ruler of the sun, and that could also give you kind of like more insight into the flavor of this moment right now.
Of the
Um
Kazemi moment,
of the Kazemi moment, yeah.
which already happened, but still feeling the effects of.
It's still a feeling, yeah. I would say into maybe the weekend, but then beyond that, maybe not.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I didn't realize how close eclipse season was.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's happening. I think I have a feeling that this will be the hardest. May, beginning of May will be like a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
So my advice to people is just like be really, really soft with yourself
Mm-hmm.
and just give yourself time to like, relax, get a massage or something. Do
Yeah.
something new that you haven't before. Like maybe don't be so involved on social media. Like keep an eye on
Mm-hmm.
yourself and in your lane and not in other people's lanes, and just like take care of yourself.
Yeah.
That would be my advice. Um,
I like
Anything
that.
else going on that we want to mention? Anything else in your business going on?
Not nothing crazy. I am working on a couple of things for Brilliant Pet, but that
Mm-hmm.
is kind of like long-term things,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
always doing seasonal excerpts every month. I post a little video about the season, and it kind of has to do it's fusing more with these days with astrology because I just find it to be so aligned with the how I see life. So
Mm,
a lot of these seasonal excerpts they're definitely about like the season and like the study that I've been reading about in some of the books that I have. But yeah, so every month I post a seasonal excerpt that just gives you some insight into the season that we're in right now. I'm trying to maybe get ahead of it someday, but I feel like I just like tapping into the energy that's current and talking
mm,
about it because I
yeah,
feel like it's the most potent, and then
totally.
therefore I can like give more insight. But
Yeah. Um,
yeah,
oh yeah, me and Liz are also working on very in beginning stages of a project
ooh,
together that we're going to collab, and it'll be full of
yes,
art and astrology, and those are the main two things. But
yeah,
be on the lookout for that because that's really exciting.
yeah,
And
that's super exciting. That will be like very. It will help people understand the energies that we're always talking about here
yes,
on the
yeah,
podcast.
like in a really like visual way and also like intellectual. We're getting all
Yes.
those learning styles. And maybe we
Yeah.
could put some like audio into it. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Um,
I like
cool.
that.
That's probably it for
Cool.
this week, and then we'll meet in a couple weeks to talk more. We'll be
Mm-hmm.
so when we meet again, it'll be like mid eclipse
It'll
season.
actually be it'll be mid, yeah, it'll be like early
With
May. So, like
yeah,
you
so
said.
we'll be in the midst of it, and we'll be able to like talk in the moment about what's happening. So that'll be cool.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that'll be cool.
All right.
All right, y'all.
Thanks for listening, y'all. See you
See you
later.
next time.